Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another very highly requested combination to try. We just recently started testing some of these shells again, but in a little bit different shot size, and we actually saw some surprisingly nice results from them. But the track record that these shells have isn't the best, definitely not in my testing, and I know plenty of other people saw the same very inconsistent results as well. So now we're going to be running some of this variant of them, and we'll see what we can get, but hopefully everything should work out and we see some very nice results today. Before the shells I've got today, I brought out some more of the Winchester Longbeard XR loads, but these ones are the 20 gauge, 3-inch, 1 1/4 ounce payload of 6s at about 1,000 feet per second. We just recently started testing the 20 gauge Longbeard XR shells again. We ran some 5s here recently with some pretty nice looking results. So now we've got the 6s. Now if you haven't been around for a while here, we have tested the 20 gauge Longbeards in both variants a while back, a year or two ago, with some terribly inconsistent results. We saw 1 or 2 decent patterns from them, but the rest were all absolutely just all over the paper. So they had some inconsistency problems, but several of you guys have said, hey, test some more of the 20 gauge Longbeard XR loads. You think they fixed some of their issues? I've seen and heard some better things about them recently, so we've got a brand new box of 6s, and we'll see how consistent they actually are. The 5s look good. Hopefully we get the same here with these 6s. As for the setup that we're running them in, I brought out the Stevens 301 20 gauge. It's got a vector red dot on top with a 26-inch barrel, but we've got 2 chokes that I want to run these side by side with today. Those being these 2. Now the lighting isn't great for you to see them all that well, but we've got a Carlson's Longbeard XR 568 and a Primos Tight Wad 570. We're going to start over here with that Carlson's Longbeard choke. In theory, this choke was designed for these shells. If there's going to be a choke that performs well with them, should be this one. But based on our previous test with the 5s, we ran them through this choke up against a Cabela's Black Max 575. That choke gave us some great results with those, but we wanted to see what they would do through a little more constriction, but something that was less than the Carlson's. Therein comes the Primos Tight Wad 570. This has been a very good choke in our testing so far with it, so we're going to see what they do head to head here, and even though they're pretty close in constriction, I bet we see 2 little bit different results here between these 2 chokes. But for today's test, we're running everything the same as usual. I've got both turkey targets set up side by side at 40 yards with the chronograph as well. So let's get you guys a view of those targets. We'll see if 20 gauge lead continues to prefer the little bit less constriction or not. It might not, with these being a lead 6. We'll see what happens, but let's take some shots and see if this brand new box of Longbeard 6s can actually give us something nice down there at 40. Alright, I apologize for the little bit of a glare. The sun is just at the perfectly wrong angle. But we had a boss claim with these shells of 1,000 feet per second. Typically, they are 1,100 or a little bit over that, and that's right where we were seeing with these. The Carlson's 568 gave us 1,106, and that Primos Tight Wad 570 gave us 1,108. So 2 very consistent velocities, just a hair over 1,100. It's perfectly fine for a load of lead 6s, but did we actually get 2 40-yard capable patterns down there? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, so here we have our 2 40-yard patterns side by side, and we definitely see 2 different stories here between these patterns. I think there's going to be a clear winner here for us today, that's for sure. I don't think we're running into inconsistencies just yet, but we'll see as we continue testing these, because that Tight Wad 570 over there on the right is definitely starting to open it up a little bit more noticeably than what we got with the 568. But first, we'll start over here with our Carlson's Longbeard XR 568. If there's a choke that's going to do well with these, you would think it would be this one, and we see a pretty solid looking pattern here. Obviously, that choke does favor to the right just a touch. Our Tight Wad was pretty well right on the money as far as windage goes, but that's why you test with the setup you plan to hunt with before just taking it out. But yes, indeed, we do have a dead turkey here at 40. There's a number of them through the head and neck area there, and obviously if we had that centered up a little bit, it would be the exact same story. Pretty nice condensed area of spread there. That's definitely 40-yard capable, no doubt about it. Might have a little thin spot kind of right along along the edge of the paper, right where that lighter spot of color is. Not necessarily a major void, but it is there and it is noticeable. Outside of that, we might have a little bit of stringy stuff up here at the top, maybe a couple little flyers over there to the left, but overall, everything is pretty condensed down. That is a perfectly viable 40-yard, 20-gauge lead pattern. But looking at it and considering that these are a lead 6, especially when compared to what our Tight Wad 570 did, we might just need a touch more constriction out of these to really get that nasty pattern that we know a Longbeard can give us. Maybe a 565 might be the ticket here. But for a starting point with the 6s, that's a perfectly adequate pattern. I wouldn't hesitate to run that any day of the week, but maybe we can squeeze a touch more out of it with a little different choke as well. But now moving over here to our Tight Wad 570, little different story. You can pretty much immediately tell. We still have a dead turkey at 40 yards. Definitely there's a couple through the brain and a couple through the top of the neck there that would have done the job. Although it is obviously a much more broad pattern, no doubt about it. So is that the constriction? Potentially, considering that this is a little less constriction with a lead 6. Maybe they need a little more choke. Is it just the Tight Wad in particular, not being a super fan of these Longbeard loads? Possibly. Is it a little bit of inconsistency in the manufacturing quality of these shells again? Maybe, but this is obviously just 2 shells. We got to do more testing with them through some other chokes and see if this continues to pop up. This is not a bad pattern. It's not completely scattered all over the place, quite like we saw in our previous Longbeard testing a couple years ago. So I don't think we're in that territory yet. I just don't think it's the right choke combo for these particular shells, because it does still keep a decently even spread of pellets. It's just much more broad. Now obviously some people are going to prefer this kind of pattern. It definitely gives you leeway to work with, especially if you're hunting 25 to 30 yards or so in thicker cover. That's going to be an absolute hammer for you. But it's definitely way more open than what we got with that Carlson's, and the constrictions are very close. So definitely 2 ends of the spectrum here. Both of them are turkey capable to 40 yards, but I think we have a clear winner with the 568. But let's pull both of these targets down. We'll count some pellets, draw some more circles, and see what the true difference between these two is as far as numbers are concerned. Alright, so now we've got our turkey targets out of the way, and yep, we can really see the difference here between these two patterns. One is quite a bit more condensed, one is definitely a little more broad. Both are definitely 40-yard capable. Maybe you'll have a little bit of personal preference between the two, but there is a big difference in numbers as well. First, we'll start over here on the left with our Carlson's Longbeard XR 568. We have a 10 and 20 inch circle drawn there. Pretty nice condensed area of shot. Within our 10 inch core, we have 118 pellets, although there is a little bit of a void right there, just to the right of center. Nothing too major, but it is there. That's 118 pellets within there. Plenty capable to 40 yards, that's for sure. Outside of that, with our 20 inch leeway ring, we pick up an additional 102 pellets. Still pretty even for the most part. The top half might be a little bit thinner than what the bottom half is, but still very nice for a lead 20 gauge shell at 40 yards. We still have our little flyers and stuff around the edges as well. Nothing too surprising there or that we didn't already know. Overall, for a choke that was probably designed to shoot these shells, I think it did just fine. Although I do think maybe with a touch more constriction, we might be able to bring those in just a little bit more. You don't necessarily need it, but maybe we can clean it up a little bit and just have those edges, at least what's outside of that 20 inch ring, brought in a little bit. Still perfectly solid pattern. Looking good for a start here with the 20 gauge Longbeard 6s. Definitely way better than what we saw previously with our old testing with them for sure. But now for our Primos Tight Wad 570, you can definitely tell that it's a more broad pattern. Inside of our 10 inch core, we have 71 pellets compared to 118 with the Carlsons. And outside of that, in our 20 inch ring, we pick up an additional 82 in comparison to 102 with the Carlsons. So more broad for sure, but what's inside of our circles here is a pretty even spread as well. That is absolutely 40-yard capable, and if you're hunting at a little bit closer range, or if you're in a scenario where you might be in thicker cover, closer range shots, that might not be a terrible option. Looking at our full pattern here without anything in the way, I don't think we're seeing any super inconsistent results yet from these Longbeard 6s. I think this is a good pattern. I just just think either that tight wad choke isn't a massive fan of these Longbeard 6s, or that 570 isn't quite enough constriction to just bring them down that little bit. I think the second there is probably more likely, but we'll see as we continue testing them. That is still a capable pattern. I would run it if it's what I had, but between these two, that Carlson's is probably my preferred pick. So overall here, neither of these are a bad pattern. For 40 yards with lead and a 20 gauge, that pattern with the Carlson's over there on the left is pretty nice. It's hard to argue with that. But even in comparison to other lead loads out there, that tight wad over there on the right outshoots a lot of other options as well. So neither of these is a bad option. It's just going to be personal preference. And it seems like, again, Winchester may have fixed or figured out some of their manufacturing inconsistency problems with these Longbeard 20 gauge loads. We'll see as we continue testing them again. Both of these are definitely capable, but there's probably a winner over there with that Carlson's on the left. And here are the two wads out of those shells. You've got your 568 Carlsons on the left and your tight wad 570 on the right. Pretty similar overall. Might have had the Carlsons open a little bit more, but no major damage or anything I'm concerned with here. Both of these wads look perfectly fine. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that result right there? We see two good patterns, but I definitely think that Carlson's is the better choice here, at least with this particular shell. There's nothing wrong with that tight wad either. If you're hunting closer ranges, thicker cover or something, that's going to hammer a bird just as good. But if you're in a more open area or on a field or something where you may have to reach out a touch farther, might not be a terrible choice to go with the little tighter option over here. Either way though, it seems like we may be on track to finally have some good Longbeard 20 gauge patterns. The 5s did well here recently. Now the 6s are showing two good results, although one is definitely better than the other, but I think it's more so on the shot size versus the choke constriction that we ran it through. So now we got to do more testing with both of them and see if that trend continues. I've heard of some reliable good results from them here recently. Maybe they've got it figured out, but we're going to see one way or the other as we continue to try them. But overall, two perfectly capable 40-yard lead patterns from a 20 gauge. Either way you look at it, once again, the Longbeard loads are probably some of the best lead loads on the shelf. There's not much out there, especially in 20 gauge, that can compete with either of these patterns. So leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these 20 gauge Longbeard loads here recently? And if so, have you seen better results than what we used to be able to get from them? Are either one of these a combo that you would actually hunt with? And if so, which one of these options do you prefer? Do you like the little bit tighter pattern with that Carlson's, or do you like the little more breathing room that the tight wad gives you over there? And what other chokes do you want to see us run those shells through that you think might be a good performer with them? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.